You guys ready to start? He said they did. No, they did. They did. I don't know. All right, great. Good evening. At this time, we'll call our meeting to order. Jamie, could you please, let's first stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible. Good evening. Jamie, could you please read the sunshine statement and call the roll?
Be advised that proper notice has been given by the Township Council in accordance with the Sunshine Law in the following manner. Notice advertised in the Burlington County Times and Camden Carrier Post on January 4th, 2024, and posted on the bulletin board on the same date. Mrs. Apiadu?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Jenny?
Here.
Mr. Lyon? Mr. Burrell?
Here. Thank you, Jamie. First up on our work session is the Green Team Memorial Tree Dedication. At this time, I'll turn it over to our mayor, Mayor Katcherma.
Deborah, you gonna say anything first or no? You gonna say anything else?
No,
Okay,
no.
well, thanks for backing me.
You're welcome.
All right. So good evening, everyone. This is something that's long a coming, and the Green Team has apparently asked me to do all of this. So here we go.
That's why we elected you.
And the good news is it's all on my phone. And I understand why the kids do it, but here we go. Okay, so we have a number of honorees. The tree is covered up outside, and I'm going to read those, and if there's representatives here, give us a wave so we know that you're here. The first of which is a very important one to the Green Team, because this is the man that started it all. So we would like to honor Bill Kersey from the Green Team. We have a nice round of applause for Bill's families in the back. So you didn't meet, if you never met Bill, he had more energy at 80 than 3-year-olds. So 87 he was when he passed. Wow. And if I mispronounce any of the names, it's Deb's fault. So next is Varan Drenick, right? Here we have somebody representing.
It's Deb.
Oh, Deb's mom, his mother, grandmother, and Delran High School art teacher. In memory of Evan Henrich, who is a dear friend. It says here, we miss you every day. We hug more because of you. That's great. I'm not going to cry, all right? They're working on it now. In memory of Michael Horowitz, loving husband, dad, and pop-up, we miss you every day. Was supposed to be a surprise from his daughter and her husband, but he found out. As a matter of fact, both Lynn and Susan both found out. So is Susan here? Couldn't talk her into it? She's tough. So there are actually two. For Lynn R. Jenny for service to community and love of family, that is Councilman Jenny. And Susan R. Jenny, everyone in the Jenny family has the middle initial R, for supporting community and love of family. We thank you, Susan, for putting up with Lynn. For loving Lynn. In honor of our mother, Mrs. Georgette Samuels Johnson, from Duke, Victor, Nikki, and Linda. Oh, you're not, right. In loving memory of Joseph J. Mormando Jr. For Larry Smith, beloved husband and father. Sam Wilf, husband, father, and Baba, who always knew acres of diamonds were right in his own backyard. That's great. And a local celebrity in town was Harron Jesse Williams, husband, father, brother, and son, Delran track legend and Golden Regiment instructor. That's it. So now, they're going to take off the cover. You're welcome to take pictures. We're going to continue with our meeting. But if you would like to go on out, those folks that are friends and family, we thank you for coming out. You're welcome to come back and share the fun. Council President, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have a quick presentation from our Hardenberg Insurance Group, Joe Henry, who comes by a couple times a year to keep us updated on the annual safety report, everybody's favorite report. Glad to have you here.
Like spring training and the flowers, I'm here once a year. The chief told me they were all here for me. I'm kind of disappointed.
Big crowd for you.
Yeah. So, yes, Joe Henry, Hardenberg Insurance, your risk manager for the JIF. Annually, once a year, the JIF likes to have a discussion on safety at a council meeting. So that's why I'm here. We pick a topic every year. It's going to be accident investigation, which is vital to the success of any safety committee. You do have a very active safety committee with all departments represented, which is a great thing to have. So I'll jump right into it. Our objectives with a safety committee and the accident investigation is one, to conduct one, understanding the steps involved in determining the root cause, which really is the most important thing, because if we don't find out why it happened, it's bound to happen again. We want to make that report and make any changes if needed. In your investigation, we're going to look for two things. If it's a lack of training, the JIF has training in every imaginable position you could think of. We'll get that training in place for the injured employee and anybody that needs it. Or lack of engineering. Could have been a piece of equipment going bad, could have been a piece of equipment that you don't have that could have prevented it. We'll see that that gets put in place, unless it's a budget item, and then that's a discussion for another day. So in your plan highlights, preservation of life is key. If you do have an injured employee, call 911 immediately if it calls for it. Secure your accident scene, get your information together. You're going to find out who's going to conduct the accident investigation. You always want someone in authority, because unfortunately sometimes there are cases where the accident investigation just sits and it doesn't go any further, and nothing's going to happen if it doesn't move to a responsible person. In reporting your accident, follow the procedures in your plan. When are you going to report it? We like to see it reported immediately, if not within 24 hours. Certainly no more than 3 days, because statistics prove that injuries reported within a 3-day period cost less and get the employee back to work quicker, and it's better treatment for the employee. And moving on, securing the scene, control access to your scene. You don't want anybody in to disrupt it. If you're going to have an investigation, use some sort of barriers for that. Do not adjust or change the accident scene unless it's required to get that person that's injured to safety. When we gather information, there's going to be lots of questions. The things we're going to look for is who was injured, what caused the accident, where it occurred, when, how. Don't forget to question witnesses, and why, which is the biggest question of all, because I did mention previously, if we don't find out why it happened, it's bound to happen again. Gathering information, continuing, view your accident scene immediately, provide a clear description, take photographs. Everybody's got a camera because everybody's got a phone, so we can get those that can be helpful in the investigation. Label and secure any items for an insurance adjuster. Identify witnesses and get written statements from those witnesses as soon as you can while it's fresh in their mind. And that could be key, especially in litigation, because in litigation, if it's not documented, the courts doesn't recognize that it happened. So lastly, corrective measures and tools, purchase new tools and equipment. If need be, redesign a work area, improve housekeeping. Poor housekeeping is every month one of OSHA's top 10 violations. It's proven that poor housekeeping leads to slips, trips, and falls in the workplace. So if that's the case, we want to keep a clean work area. Install warning devices could be helpful. Add to existing signage, which can be helpful in litigation. Removing broken equipment and tools, and also preventing lighting can prevent slips, trips, and falls. Just a little something to share with you at the end, why we do the accident investigation. We had a very serious incident, not here, it's actually an MUA where a gentleman, they were finishing up the job. The end of the day, gentleman leaned over to close a hatch, put his hand on a pipe, the pipe gave. He went down 5.5 feet into a hole, fractured skull, broken ribs, very serious injuries. He's doing good now, but accident investigation reveals had he simply walked around the well, the latch was there, closed the latch, and voila, that's over and done with. So accident investigations do help, and that information is shared to all the employees. So any questions related to your safety program, please feel free to ask. If not, I'll get out of your way.
Any questions from council? Nope, great. Thank
All set.
you.
Thank you for your
Coming by.
time and the
Appreciate it.
opportunity to serve you.
Thank you. Next up is our 2024 budget discussion, which is a very, very good budget. So I'll let the mayor and Joe present it to council as it's required under the law. Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. As mayor, I'm presenting my fourth budget to council and very pleased to deliver a budget for your review and approval, which again has no municipal tax increase. We have not had a tax increase in 6 years and never while I was mayor. While meeting with the auditor, our CFO, and township administrator last week, our auditor advised us that Delran Township is in the best financial shape of our history, and we're happy that we've been able to achieve that. So now I'd like to have our township administrator discuss some of the finer points for you. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. President and Council, much of what you see before you with the operating side of the budget is pretty much the same as last year. It reflects, salary wage increases. But there are a couple of areas I just want to point out where there's a variance from last year. One is in the cyber security area. Per the JIF guidelines, we have to achieve a two-part checklist to verify that we've got the proper controls in place to ward off a potential security threat to us. So there'll be some additional purchases that we're going to have to be made this year. So there's a few $1,000 increase for that. And if we don't do that, then our deductible, it goes from like $5,000 all the way up to $50,000. So it behooves us to spend a little bit now and, save, God forbid, that there should be a threat to us down the road. And in the engineering section, the state of New Jersey, DEP has imposed quite a few new requirements for their MS4 storm drainage requirements. And there's some work that we have to do with reporting, mapping, and what have you. That's reflected in this year's budget. In the planning section, I believe we have our master plan approved in either 2020 or 2021. I forget which, but there are some ordinances that have to be prepared in order to bring the master plan in consistency with our zoning code. So that would probably be done during the summer months this year. Let's see here. Under the police part of things, there's an increase here for storage of data from your car cameras and your body cameras. It used to be where you could store it on your server of your own computer. Now you have to do it to the cloud. That carries quite an exorbitant expense with it. It's going to be implemented this year, and it'll be an ongoing cost of doing business for policing. Of course, there's an increase for the purchase of police vehicles. We really don't buy them until the end of the year when the contracts become available, and what those costs may be then, and what we could forecast when we put this together in December, January, and February, who knows? But last year, we had enough in there, and we're hopeful we'll do that this year too. Also, per the AG requirements, all officers now have to be licensed as effective 1/1/24. So going forward, I believe that carries a $500 expense per patrol officer. And also a lot of training expenses this year coming for police. We're somewhat in an enviable position where probably this year, and the first time for a long time, we will be at full staffing levels for the police department. So that's it for police. Trash collection, there's an increase for trash reimbursement. There's a new development that has come online. We're gonna have to work out those expenses with them. And just a point of interest on trash, we are in the throes of our last year with Republic for our own municipal collection, and we're gonna have to address that probably in another couple of months as far as whether to extend the contract or whether to pursue something new. More to come on that. One last item on the appropriation side, the insurance premiums. Mr. Henry was just here. We've realized an average between general liability, property, cyber, and auto of approximately a 12% increase over last year. Keeping with that, including that, and the year before, it's approximately a 30% increase over the last 2 years. So, yeah, that's quite a big hit. On the revenue side, I just want to point out two things. The construction revenue was down last year. We're going through a tough time now. The interest rates are high. There's not a lot of development going on, but that's not just here. That's everywhere. And one thing that we may see on the revenue ledger next year that we don't see this year, we have had the benefit of at least 2 of our cannabis retail establishments in operation almost for a full 3 quarters. Two have just opened. A third one's getting darn close, and there's a fourth one still going through their land use approvals. So that's pretty much everything that's on the operating side of the budget. If you have any questions tonight, or in the next couple of weeks, please let me know. We plan to introduce at our next meeting, which is April 9th, with a public hearing established sometime in May. So if I could continue, Mr. President.
Please go ahead.
I'm going to go right into capital. In late last year, we reappropriated bond ordinances with balances to minimize the borrowing during this period of higher interest rates. We approved funding for the 2024 road program, which includes Paddock and Tech, municipal building security improvements, and ADA improvements along Suburban Boulevard. What wasn't included was funding for the second phase of Stewart. As you know, and Ed's going to comment on it shortly, first phase of Stewart just began, actually it just began pretty much this week. The design for phase 2, which was appropriated late in 23, is ongoing as we speak. We will have to come back and seek funding for the actual construction of phase 2. But just note that we've received a $300,000 grant from the NJDOT to help minimize the impact of Delran Township. I mentioned earlier municipal building security improvements. We've got seen a couple of sketches of those, and we'll be probably in another couple of weeks we'll be able to share what we're going to do and at what points in time we're going to do what. A couple of other things in there. You saw a tandem axle truck with a brush grapple. This is one of the 2 dump trucks, the larger dump trucks that need replacing. And what the grapple attachment will do, will allow us to go around and pick up brush and just throw in the back of the dump truck instead of going out with an army full of equipment with the tree chippers and what have you. So we still have to do some chipping, but probably less because we'll be able to haul a lot of the brush directly right to the county where we take it. There's a mini excavator in there. We're going to try to work out a shared arrangement with 2 other towns in very close proximity to us. And that'll help us in cleaning some of our streams, which when they contain a lot of brush, it starts to dam up. And, we've seen a little bit of that with all the rain that we've had over the last 4 months. You see the Vermeer soccer field lighting in there. We don't have a soccer field in town that has lighting. And we've already received a grant for this project, but we've applied to the state for their annual recreation program. And we're awaiting word, hopefully soon, but we're not in a position yet to even go to bid or seek the bond ordinance. But that should be coming within the next couple of months. And, that's pretty much, the capital part of it, the highlights of it. Again, if there are any questions, be more than glad to answer them. There's some sewer improvements that need to be done. I will point out we're having a devil of a time securing a contract to do Route 130, the sewer line repair and rehab. So I think in 2 weeks we'll know a little bit more on what route to take, both in the immediate right now and going forward. But there are a couple of other sewer projects on there. We're going to be able to fund those directly, and they are reflected in the sewer operating budget. 2 influent pumps. They're the pumps that just bring everything into the plant itself. They need to be replaced. A couple of emergency generators at our pump stations need to be replaced, which are a requirement. So that's pretty much it. That's the summary.
That's great. Thank you, Joe. Gary, you have anything else?
No.
Great. Any questions, comments from council on this? Good. Good. So, Gary, Mayor, you're going to prepare your budget PowerPoint and all with
Oh,
the,
we'll do that.
yeah.
When we have for the public meeting and for when the budget itself is available to be reviewed by the public.
Great, great. Great job, Mayor and administrators and all the department heads. I know it takes a lot of time to get a budget put together, and especially one with no tax increase. So I want to thank everybody for all their hard work making that happen.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, Joe. And I think it goes right back to you for the Stewart Ave construction schedule. Ed?
I'm going to yield completely to Ed on this one.
Okay, Ed, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Council President. So just to give an update, we issued a notice to proceed. It was effective yesterday. The contractor's been on site the last couple of days doing tree removal along phase 1. They are actually going to begin test pits tomorrow and should conclude by the end of the week to confirm the invert elevations for the pipes that are going to be going into the ground. Then there's going to be a lull. There's not going to be any work really done until middle to end of April when they bring in their storm sewer crews. And then from there, they'll be there for the next three to 4 months to a final completion date based off their schedule I was provided earlier this afternoon around mid to end of July, which will, at the final product, will be a fully resurfaced road for the first 1,200 feet from River just past Frederick Street. So, and I'll provide updates throughout when I'm at the workshops of the progress of the contractor. Additionally, similar to what Joe started last year, we're going to be having a kind of I would say a town hall style meeting where I'm going to be present for all the residents to come and ask me questions regarding the project, how their house is going to be impacted, what improvements are going to be done along the street and in front of their house. So tentatively, we're looking at April 15th at around like 6:30 p.m. My office will be handing out a resident notification letter next Monday to notify everybody to come attend if they would like.
Yeah, what's the date again?
Tax day.
Okay, can you send that around an email to council?
Will do.
Please, thank you. Is it public? That's not a publicly notified.
Not really, it's an informal review.
Yeah,
session,
okay,
which is
yep.
all.
So I'll be here with the plans. I'll put them up
Yeah.
on this PowerPoint screen, and
Yeah, I remember
We did that for 2023. We didn't have that large of a turnout. But we'll be doing a similar presentation
Good.
like that for the road program when it comes out as well in a couple months.
Excellent. Thank you. Awesome. Anything else, Ed?
That's it for Stewart Avenue.
Okay, great. Next up on our work session, last is the 2024 sewer claims. Jamie provided us with a memo. Jamie, anything you want to add beyond the memo? I think it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. The recommendations are there. And if everybody, unless anybody has any questions, there will be a resolution on the public meeting for approval.
You guys good with that? Good, okay. Great, thank you, Jamie, with that. Next up is our ordinances on second reading. First is ordinance 2024-4, an ordinance to establish salaries for various employees with the Township of Delran, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, and regulating the manner of payment of the same. This requires public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to open the floor, public comment.
I make a motion. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Our floor is open to public comment on this ordinance only. Are there any comments? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the floor.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Our floor is closed. I'll now entertain the motion to approve ordinance 2024-4.
I make a motion. Second?
Jamie, do you mind calling the roll, please?
Mrs. Apiadu,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Jenny,
Aye.
Mr. Burrell.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. The ordinance is adopted. Next up is ordinance 2024-5, authorizing and approving the sale of third-party owned properties known as 97 Foxglove Drive, 75 Foxglove Drive, 217 Rose Bay Court to Salt and Light Company, Inc., and conversion of said affordable units to rental units. I'll entertain a motion to open the floor to public comment.
Motion? Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Floor is open to public comment. Is there any public comments? None. I'll entertain a motion to close the floor.
I make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. The floor is closed. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-5.
Motion?
Second?
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Apiadu,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Jenny,
Aye.
Mr. Burrell.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. The ordinance is adopted. Next is our ordinances on first reading. This is ordinance 2024-6, an ordinance amending chapter 269 titled Rental Properties, the Code of the Township of Delran, and to add Title 3 entitled Lead-Based Paint Inspections and Certifications. I'll entertain a motion to introduce.
I make a motion.
Second?
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Apiadu,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Jenny,
Aye.
Mr. Burrell.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. The ordinance is introduced. One last ordinance is ordinance 2024-7, an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Attachment 1, Schedule 4, non-stop, no stop or standing the code of the Township of Delran. I'll entertain a motion to introduce.
Motion.
Second?
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Apiadu,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Jenny,
Aye.
Mr. Burrell.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. The ordinance is introduced. Next up is our consent agenda. Is there any objections, council? Do we have any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion. Second?
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Apiadu,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Jenny,
Aye.
Mr. Burrell.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved and the items within are adopted. Next up, we have reports, and first up is our Township Administrator, Joseph Bellino. Joe, anything for us?
Mr. President, just briefly, I just want to underscore the severity of the Route 130 situation, and don't be a bit surprised that if in 2 weeks we're talking about declaring an emergency repair out there in order to keep things flowing fine. So more to come, okay?
Yes, thank you, Joe. Keep us updated. Next up is our Township Clerk, Jamie Agers. Jamie, anything?
I have no report.
Great. Next up is Mayor Casherbone. Mayor?
Yes, thank you very much, Council President. So there's a couple of things, mostly things that are going on around town that are important. First is an event entitled Her Story, and that's tomorrow, March 27th. It's been on the website for some time, but just want to remind folks, it's from 11 to 1:30 at the Borough Epicenter in Willingboro. This is an event hosted by Senator Troy Singleton addressing mental health issues for female veterans. They require an RSVP, so I would ask if you're interested in attending, be sure and go to the website and click on the appropriate link, and you'll be able to attend. Tomorrow, there's a family business in town called Siaka's Furniture. They've been around apparently for 80 years in business serving Delran and the surrounding communities, and we'll be there to wish them congratulations and continued success. But I did want to mention them. They're a great family and they've been around forever. The egg hunt has been rescheduled. Magically, we have they've rallied the troops, and that's going to be this Saturday at noon sharp. It takes about
10.
I'm sorry,
10.
10. I'm sorry. It takes about, I had them reversed, takes about 4 minutes for those kids to scout and grab all those eggs. So at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, we encourage you to go one out if you have any youngsters. And thank the RAC and the volunteers for working that out at the last minute after last Saturday's inclement weather. Two more quick pieces. One is Joe alluded to the fact that Castaway Cannabis and Zacate, which is another dispensary, are now open. As these are the first two dispensaries that we have in town, they're going to serve as a model for how these businesses are to be run in Delran. They look very nice. Castaway had their grand opening on March 16th. Zacate had their soft opening this week, and their grand opening will be 4/20. That is April 20th. And finally, we have on the website, but Delran has recycled 2,864,974 pounds of paper, cardboard bottles, and cans, saving $136,144 in landfill fees. That's enormous and amazing. So I remind everyone, please recycle all that you can, and if you're not sure about where it goes or what you cannot recycle in town, go to the Recycle Coach page on the township or download the Recycle Coach app. It is free. And see, there's a new flyer on the township website and in our social media for additional information about what you can bring to the township yard behind the municipal building. And that is my report.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Next up is from our Solicitor's Office, Robert Wright. Robert?
I have no reports tonight.
Thank you. Next up from our Engineer's Office, Semi Associates, Ed Dariento.
Thank you, Council President. I'll keep my report brief. I just want to keep you all updated. We have a project that has been advertised today, as Joe alluded to previously, for the CDBG fiscal year 2024 project along Suburban. We're expecting to receive bids in a few weeks with the anticipation to award it. I believe it's the first meeting in either May or the last meeting in April. Followed up shortly by that, the next time I see you, we will have the road program advertised, which includes Paddock Way, Tech Drive, and Cooper's Kill. Great. That's my report.
Great, thank you. Next up are members of council. First up is Councilwoman Nikki Apiadu. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just like to thank all who make the township run smoothly, to our staff and volunteers. Thank you so much for your hard work. Also, special thanks to everyone who helped to get the budget to us in time. This way we can meet up with the state's deadline. Thank you.
Next up is, wait for my introduction. Next up is Councilman Marlo Smith. Councilman?
Thank you very much. Just a couple quick items. Just wanted to once again thank all the Green Team for all their hard work, dedication throughout the years, but especially for the memorial tree dedication tonight. It was so great to see so many residents who, come to help celebrate a loved one. And, it's just great to see our town come together to remember great Delran residents. Secondly, just wanted to remind everyone that starting Friday, schools will be out. So, pay attention for the next few days, as I'm sure there'll be a lot more kids outside enjoying all the sunshine, and sometimes in the morning and noon and the afternoon, getting some exercise in place. So just be careful as you're driving. And lastly, as Councilman Apayadu mentioned, just a great kudos to all the folks that work in the office and the staff getting the budget together. Just a fantastic job once again, and just wanted to thank them for their efforts. End of report.
Thank you. Next up is Councilman Lynn Jenny. Councilman?
Thank you, Council President. I too want to thank and congratulate the mayor, Mr. Molina, our department heads, and all the financial people who put a lot of work into the budget. Another year of 0 municipal tax increase is fantastic. It's what the residents had told us they wanted, and we delivered on that, and I'm very proud of that. In addition, I want to congratulate the Green Team for the memorial tree unveiling. I was surprised when my daughter and son-in-law told me that they're going to be at the meeting on the 26th. I said, I can't imagine why, and now I know. And I want to thank them. It's what a wonderful gift to be recognized by your son and your daughter and son-in-law. But to have a tree planted in one of our parks is, I think, very, very special, and it will be for us for a long time. Also, the Green Team has a cleanup this Saturday, again, due to the weather last Saturday. It has been rescheduled for this Saturday at 10 o'clock. And we're doing Princeton Park, the Wildflower Garden, which is at the Jug Handle, coming over onto Chester Avenue, and at Lake Lonnie. A lot of work's been done at Lake Lonnie by the Green Team to develop that into another community park. So if you can make it to one of those three, there's grabbers, you don't have to touch anything, and there'll be people there to help you, and it's just a nice day to be out and helping the community. That's my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilman. For my report, I want to first start off on the budget, and as my colleagues mentioned, congratulate Joe, the mayor, on a great budget, as well as the administrator, Joe, all the department heads. There's a lot of work that goes into this budget. I'm not sure if you can see it. This is the slimmed down version of it. It's a great budget. Anytime there's a 0% tax increase, that's always a good thing. Most people, you've heard me say this if you come to these meetings, but I think, Mayor, check me on the number. I think, what are we, 28% of the total tax bill when someone writes a check? We're about 28% of that? Right, yeah. When I first started doing this, it was like 38%. Now we're down in the mid-20s. So of your total tax bill that you write to the, for school, county, all of that, fire tax, school board, all of that, we're about 25% of it. That pays for your police, pays for this, what you're seeing here today, the construction office, the zoning office, the court. I mean, the list goes on. Public Works, your trash, all of that stuff. It's a laundry list. I'm only touching it, but it's really a great job. And much credit goes to our administration and our department heads, the chief in the back, and many of them who make it happen and have to make sure the budget comes in under numbers. So we want to thank you all for your hard work with that respect. Second thing, I want to also congratulate the Green Team on the unveiling. I know we've been working on that ordinance for how long? 2 years or so, maybe a little more than that. Yeah, so it took us a couple years to get to that point, but that's a testament to the Green Team and all the hard work they do. Lynn is heavily involved with that, Councilman Jenny heavily involved, and you guys are the backbone, and like we always say, it's up to the volunteers to keep the township going, and you guys are a large part of that, so we thank you for that. And finally, on a good note, the Easter egg hunt is 10 o'clock on Saturday. I will quickly amend the mayor's statement. It takes about 1 minute for all of the eggs to go away. So it starts at 10 o'clock sharp, and by the time it's 10:01, it's all done. So be there early, come hang out. And then go to a cleanup. Yes, and then come to the cleanup right after. It'll be done in 2 minutes, so you can head right on over there.
It's like 10,000 eggs or something?
We have a lot of eggs, yeah.
A lot of eggs.
We haven't did I don't think we've had the egg hunt in 4 years, because 1 year it was like 20 degrees, then it rained, and then it's been a while coming, so glad to see it back. So that's my report. So next up, we have public comment, so I'll entertain a motion to open the floor to public comment.
Motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Our floor is open to public comment. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and you will be recognized. At that time, you have 5 minutes to speak. All remarks are part of the record and cannot be redacted or retracted after the fact. Is there any public comment? Miss? Just come up to the podium. How you doing? Good evening.
Say your name.
Good afternoon, or good evening, I guess. Donald Powell and Janice Powell, 4308 Bridgeboro Road. We're here to ask for your help. The mayor has been more than helpful in coming out to visit and look at the flooding problem that we have as a result of the development of congressional subdivision. The flooding has been exacerbated by the fact that the site plan that was required by the township required then to be installed a sidewalk along Bridgeboro Road, and that has created a dam. And the water that is, and in addition to that, the water that's run off from the development has been increased, and we live right next to the lot that is part of the entrance to the old country club, now the clubhouse for Congressional. And it is constantly a lake. It's a swamp. Come summer, it's going to be a mosquito-infested nuisance, and it doesn't drain. The water just stays there. What's needed is a way to relieve the water. Mayor and I, who I said has been so helpful in coming out and seeing the problem. We've talked about it, and some sort of an inlet and tied into the existing storm system that is there, stormwater system there, will go a long way towards solving this problem and relieving the flooding that happens there. I think probably most of you are aware of, from the recent storms that we've had, the water comes all the way over there, goes over Bridgeboro Road, and floods Bridgeboro Road, and the water is 6-8 inches deep in the road. The police have had to put cones out and stop people from coming because it's so bad.
May I
And so
comment on
something
that?
that's, yeah, just a minute. So anyway, so we're here to ask for your help. Now, I'm going to let my wife have her say.
You'll yield your time. Yeah.
This weekend, Don was away, and I know that it was a catastrophic storm. I know water came down faster than anybody anticipated. But I sat in my living room and watched cars hit 4 or 5 inches of water on Bridgeboro Road that no one was expecting because that road doesn't flood like that, except since we've had this development. And people were hitting that puddle, they were hydroplaning, we had cars coming at both directions. I did call the police department, they were stretched too thin, and they were gracious enough to say they would do what they could, but they didn't know if they could do anything. It is an accident waiting to happen, and it will be on the backs of the township if something doesn't get done about this water. It's dangerous. We haven't had any freezing with this, but we could, and then it would be even worse. So the flooding in the street is a hazard, and it's extremely dangerous. The lake next to our house it's unattractive, it's swampy, it's nasty. But this summer, like Don said, it is going to become a breeding ground for mosquitoes like we have never seen before. And that needs also, it's a health hazard, not only to us, but everybody else in the area. So that really needs to be taken under consideration. He's all about drainage. I'm all about putting in another retention pond, but something's got to get done. And the really bad part about this is Congressional has not hooked up their sewer lines yet. The water their retention ponds are already full. They're full to capacity, every single one, and they're not draining off the streets yet. So they're going to overflow too. The whole development is adding to swamps and wet marshy areas that are, again, are going to become breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So I think when we had all the approvals, the pals were there for all those meetings, and we had asked in the very beginning, we appreciate building. We didn't want to stop them from doing their building, and we have put up with years of dust, dirt, and noise. But right now, this flooding has got to be addressed. And, besides the fact that it is on their land or the development land, these last couple of storms have been so bad, they are coming over into our yard, into our gardens, up on our driveway. We have a whole bank of trees that are 30, 40 years old that are now have been sitting in water for days. And it's gonna kill the trees. So, that's a personal thing. But the other, I just think everybody needs to look at this water because it did not get handled correctly.
Yeah, we'll take sorry you're dealing with that. We'll take it offline, and I don't know
Right.
if there's a maintenance bond or what's available with that, but.
And Ed, I've asked Ed and his team to go out, and they've
Okay.
taken a look. So I don't know if I don't know if you can say a few words, but we haven't dropped the ball on this one. This is.
We
I
figured
understand.
we'd be that annoying people that keep showing up all
No,
the
You're,
time.
you're
We're
very-
here.
y'all are very good at keeping people active.
So to answer the council president's question, to answer some of your concerns, we've been actively working with the designer of the site to obtain their original design and evaluate what's currently going on site. But to your point before, with the sidewalks, the road flooding, that's something where I think I'll reach out to the county engineer because it's outside the township jurisdiction since Bridgeboro was a county road. And I can kind of bring them into the fold and relay the issues that you've been having regarding that. And then we'll have to evaluate. I've been out there a few times. I was out there again on Monday. I know there's been substantial amount of rain. As for the storm sewer system, it is actually all connected. They just haven't had final paving, so not all the water gets to the inlets, and they still have silt sacks in some of them. So yes, you are correct. Not all the water is getting in there at once, and some is sitting there. But the ponds that they have out there are actually designed to hold water. But that's something.
I knew that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just something that we're evaluating with them, making sure everything was constructed properly per their approved plans. But this won't be the last you're hearing from me, so we're looking into it.
Well, we're
from there,
hoping
so-
that part of that problem will solve itself when they put the top coat on. Right now, all the inlets are an inch above
That's what you
the
just
the
said.
base coat, so.
Great. We're over time, but, we can speak afterwards offline for as long as you want. We're here, okay?
Very well.
Just want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Great, well, thank you
We're
for your
on.
help.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for coming out and wishing your concerns. Any other public comment? No public comment? I'll entertain a motion to close the floor.
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Our public comment is closed. Now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.